Hi, I'm Bluebee. This is 14 Days of Zines. Welcome to day 3. Today we're talking about quarter-size zines, our first foray into booklet-style zines in this project. Part 1, Inspiration. Quarter-size zines fit 4 pages onto each side of a sheet of letter paper, folded in half twice. So a total of 8 pages front and back per sheet of paper. Typically, you'd make your zine with a number of pages with multiples of 8, but my preferred amount of pages for these types of zines is 12. So I end up printing 2 covers out on a sheet of paper, which I still think works if you're making copies in multiples of 2. Here are a couple of quarter-size zines that I've made before. For Halloween for the past 4 years, I've done a Halloween movie-thon, where I watch a spooky movie every day of October. And the last 2 years, I've made a Halloween special zine named Hallozine. I do love some zine-related wordplay. When I made these 2 Halloween zines, I did color covers with black and white pages inside, and I really like this format. But of course, these are just my preferences, and you could use a whole range of numbers of pages and different configurations of black and white and color. I also made these digitally in Procreate, but as with any other zine, you can go analog if you like, or a mixture of both. Part 2, the idea. So here's the idea. I want to make a Perzine to document my month. I'm hoping to make this a series. Since I'm Bluebee, I thought The Buzz would be a great name for this. And I also want to make it like a little magazine, similar to the ones I made for the Hallozines. I really enjoyed making these and getting inspired from magazine layouts. So, what's a Perzine? Perzine is an abbreviation for personal zine. Most zines could be considered personal, but the name Perzine is specifically referring to zines showcasing a zinester's own personal experiences, observations, and opinions. As I mentioned previously, I want this to be like a little mini magazine. So I've been looking on Pinterest at 90s and 2000s magazine covers and layouts as inspiration. There are so many interesting layouts you can use, and I really like using Pinterest as inspiration. Part 3, Planning. Previously, I did a little brain dump of the kinds of things I might like to cover in the Buzz. This is a useful master list I can use each month to spark ideas for things that have happened in the month that I'd like to talk about. As previously mentioned, my preferred format for this is a 12-page zine with a color cover and black and white pages inside. So I'm going to stick with that format. This issue is going to cover things that happened in May. For the cover, I think I'd like to put my pup, Winston, on it since it was his birthday, and I'm going to feature a page of the adventures that we went on for his birthday. He'll be my main feature, then I'll add some other things to the cover based on the pages I put inside. I'd like to feature 3 adventures: Winston's birthday, the day we went for pass holder previews at the new Muppet roller coaster at Disney, and also our day at Rockville Music Festival when we saw My Chemical Romance. I want to do a 2-page spread on that one. I also have been enjoying tracking media that I've been consuming, so I want to do a favorite media of the month. I'll do 1 or 2 artworks, an intro letter, some things like that. I'd like to have a reasonable amount of the plan ready, but also keep things a little bit flexible. I'll be making this in Procreate, and here's how I'm setting up the file. I have a letter-sized 8.5-inch by 11-inch canvas. As with the digital mini zine template, I'll make sure magnetics and snapping are on. I filled a layer with a color, squeeze the layer to the middle until it snaps, create another layer, fill that with a different color, and snap that to the other side of the page. I like to create my zines as 2-page spreads, so I know what it's going to look like together at the end when it's printed. Then I'll pull the 2-page spreads into another file and organize them correctly for printing. Here's how a 12-page zine is organized for printing. The easiest way to figure out the organization of your zine for a different number of pages is to make a tiny prototype and number the pages. Okay, let's make the spreads. Part 4, the master copy. So now I have all the final pages, I'll export them, pull them into a new file, and organize them for printing. Sometimes this takes a bit of mental gymnastics to make sure the pages are organized correctly and printed in the right order, but you can do it. I believe in you. Let's make some copies. Part 5, making copies. I'm going to try printing the black and white pages out on some colored sheets of paper as well to see how that looks. If you don't have a printer that can print double-sided, then you'll want to figure out which edge of the printer your printer prints first and which way you have to put the paper in. You can always do some test prints if necessary. If you print at the library, I always find the librarians super friendly and helpful, and I'm sure they would be willing to help. Another note you may want to consider is margins. My printer prints borderless. It's not perfect, but I want my art to look like a human made it, so I'm not too concerned with that. If your printer doesn't print borderless, you'll want to add some margins before printing. Just bring the edges in a little bit, and then trim the margins off before you put the zine together. I'm going to cut my paper in half, and we'll fold it up into a zine. I have a long arm stapler here to make it easy to staple the pages in the middle, but you can absolutely use a regular stapler. You can open it up, staple, and then close the staple manually. Or you can also use a different kind of binding to keep the pages together, such as sewing. Okay, we've got this copy together. Let's take a look at the final reveal. Part 6, final reveal. Part 7, thoughts. I love how this first issue of The Buzz turned out. Usually I love the look of black print on colored paper, but after comparing the color and white prints, I think I'm missing some detail and contrast on the color pages. This could also be due to the size. For my next issue, I'd like to try making a half-size zine to get some more detail and be a little less constrained on the amount of space I have to work with. But these thoughts aside, I still love how this issue turned out. As before, I'll put the zine in my Ko-fi shop if you want a copy. Link in the description. So that's it for quarter-size zines. What do you think? Will you make one? Please share with me if you do. Join me tomorrow where we'll be gamifying our zine making experience. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you next time.